Hey y'all, my name is Briley Casanova and I'm a mental performance coach. I help athletes reach their full potential while working through mental challenges within their sport. For example, I help athletes learn how to perform better under pressure, whether that's learning how to see competition differently with mindset shifts or learning relaxation or energy management techniques. I also help with goal setting, leadership, maintaining focus, and overcoming fear. My goal is to help others find their inner confidence and self-trust, which hopefully leads to further success and joy in their sport. Let's get started with today's episode. So today, guys, I wanted to talk about mental blocks because you guys voted between the idea of either talking about mental blocks or how champions think. So I'm definitely gonna talk about how champions think, but that'll be another time because you guys, it really seemed like you guys wanted to hear me talk about mental blocks, you know, how to overcome those types of situations and, you know, overcoming fear specifically, you know. Of course, my population is very much closely tied to gymnastics, and so I feel like it's very common that most athletes at some point in their career, gymnasts specifically, will encounter some type of fear, usually like going backwards on a skill or getting confused in the air while twisting. I'm sure some ice skaters have maybe experienced that same thing as well, but I'm sure whatever sport or activity you do, there's going to be a point in time where you're going to have a fear or you're going to be nervous or scared to do something. Maybe it's just the idea of taking a risk and getting out of your comfort zone that gives you that kind of trouble. So hopefully today we'll be able to talk about, you know, ways to get through that, you know. So thank you to, if you did vote on mental blocks and overcoming fear as one of the topics that you wanted to see, thank you so much for voting. I really appreciate it. I mean, the more feedback you guys give me, whether it's through DMs or emails or comments on Instagram, you know, anything like that, the better I can do and, you know, the better I can serve you guys. Because I feel like if I'm talking about stuff that isn't relevant or valid to you, you know, that's not really helping, right? I mean, I do love this podcast for talking about my experiences and my perspective, of course, but I do want to, you know, be sharing and talking about things that are actually relevant and helpful to you. So don't be afraid, don't be shy to, you know, send me feedback on any one of my social media platforms, and I'll get to that at the very end. But anyway, thanks again for voting. I really appreciate it. And let's just kind of start with the main components that come with, you know, what it takes to overcome fear. And of course, like I said, the context, I guess, and the examples I'll be using are more gymnastics related, but I think the idea behind these tips and this discussion will apply to, you know, no matter what you do. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the 3 things that you need to get through a mental block. And these are, you know, these are like mental skills and communication and emotional types of things. So the first thing you need is patience. And not only is it the athlete themselves that needs the patience, but it's also the people around them, because chances are the fear is likely affecting, you know, more than just the athlete, right? You know, maybe the coaches are getting really frustrated with, you know, seeing their athlete have this fear, or maybe parents or teachers or teammates even. So everyone in that situation, when it comes to having a fear of something, you need to have patience. And that, again, that's on all sides. Everyone communicating with each other in that situation requires patience to successfully get through this fear, okay? So that's number 1. Number 2 is optimism. I mean, I think it kind of goes without saying, but it's also so easily, you know, it's so much easier to get wrapped up in the negative and the you know, letting the fear consume you instead of you remaining in control of you and that fear. So you really need a sense of optimism and hope and positivity to get through that. And I know that's, of course, easier said than done, but at the end of the day, I talk a lot about with not only my clients and my groups, but on the podcast I've mentioned several times, like, control the controllables. You are in control of you at the end of the day. So that means you're in control of your thoughts. You get to decide, you know, how to approach your fear. And I don't think optimism is saying like completely avoiding your fear and like, I don't know, like, again, I think it kind of goes back to not letting your fear control you. It's okay you can coexist in your sport if you have fear or you're scared or nervous about something. Sometimes, at least personally for me speaking, I still till the day I graduated from college, I had fears of certain skills that just kind of never went away. but it was a matter of, me mastering how I let the fear impact my performance, if that makes sense. So I'm not saying your optimism has to like completely squash your fear. Like you can't have zero fear. You can still have your fear, but your optimism just has to outweigh it. So even if it's by a little bit, that means a lot. So I hope that makes sense. But anyway, number 3, the third thing you need to get through a mental block or a fear, you need communication. And this looks different for different coaches and different athletes. I know there are differing personalities on teams, so this is going to kind of take you doing your due diligence and doing your homework to learn how to properly communicate. Let's say if you're the athlete, it's going to take, time and energy and effort on your end to learn how to communicate openly with your coach about your fear. Letting them know, first of all, on the days where you have that fear, like telling them what you're scared of, telling them what you need to be successful. But also, with that being said, if you're a coach listening and you're on the coaching side, it's going to take open communication between you and your athlete so you can help them overcome that fear and get through it together. I was just listening to Sam Pesek on a podcast episode with my mentor and my boss. She's the owner of the company that I work for, Complete Performance Coaching. Her name's Coach Rebecca. And I'm so glad to hear that Sam Pesek, she had this great communication between her coaches when it came to her overcoming fear, and also just overall for what it took for Sam to be successful. It really seems like she had this great relationship with her coaches, and her coaches, showed the same respect that she showed them, so, and I think that, of course, that seems kind of general. Like, of course, you need open and honest and clear and healthy communication between the athlete and the coach, even when there's no fear involved. But I'm saying, like, especially when it comes to a fear, you need to feel, I mean, for me, but I also think generally every athlete wants to feel like you're on the same team with your coach. Like, you're both on the same side, right? Hopefully there's no like animosity or anger or, any negative feelings between the athlete and the coach, because that's going to put a wall between, communication and overcoming that fear and just success in general. Every athlete and every coach, I think, hopefully wants to feel like they're all on the same team and they're all working together instead of against each other, right? So make sure you have a strong relationship with your coach that's positive, that's, patient, optimistic, and has good communication. So those are the 3 things you need to get through a mental block or a fear of some kind. And I think that translates to the business world too, and, no matter what sport you do. So here's the next thing I want to talk about. Let's transition into, I guess, what's the opposite of fear? Like, what do you need more of to get over your fear, so to speak? And really, I think that's just confidence. And like I said, confidence and fear, they can live in the same place. You can both be confident and still have a little bit of fear in you. It's just a matter of, does the confidence outweigh the fear, right? Hopefully that makes sense. But anyway, we'd like to talk a lot about at Complete Performance Coaching, having it like being on a confidence scale. Some days maybe you wake up and you're a 1, like you have no confidence whatsoever. And other days maybe you're a 10 or a 9 and you're like the most confident you've ever felt in your life. So we talk about how confidence is kind of on the sliding scale, where the goal that we think to be at least move through a fear specifically, what we strive for with our athletes is we like to talk about having a 7 out of a 10 on the confidence scale. So I guess if you're thinking about it like you're taking a test, right? Like the bare minimum you can get to pass is a 70, right? Usually. So not saying that that's like ideal or the best, but talking about fear specifically, having that 7 out of a 10 on a confidence scale, that's the goal. And I think speaking with a gymnastics example and what that means, to me, or I think from some of the athletes that I've heard, what that means to them is being confident enough to go for the skill and like fully execute it, whether that's like on the low beam with mats, or you need a spot, like you need someone to physically stand there. It's basically that 7 out of 10 captures, you're still nervous to go for it, but you do it anyway. Like you still feel confident enough to go because you have everything you need to accomplish that skill. So when you're going from, like, when you're transitioning from one aspect of the skill, so again, for example, to my gymnasts listening, if you're trying to go from the low beam maybe to the medium beam or medium beam to high beam, before you can go to that next step or that next level or progression, whatever you want to call it, the goal is to feel like you're sitting at a 7 out of 10 on the confidence scale. And that's generally speaking, of course, like, that's kind of the general idea that I think most athletes can use to maybe get through your fear. But now for me, I'll give an example about me, like, looking back, I was the person where I needed to feel like I'm at an 8 or a 9. Like, I needed to get so sick of doing whatever skill I was scared of on the, like, at the easier level or on the, more comfortable, safe feeling environment, that I had to get so sick of it and feel so confident that I was, like, eager to move on to the next step. I needed a little bit more. So, of course it's gonna maybe look a little bit different for everyone personally, but I'm just speaking generally that 7 out of a 10 is the good sweet spot that we're looking for. And I think usually what the athletes tell me when they're feeling that is, like, they still kind of have, like, the butterflies, and maybe they get a little, like, they kind of get a little shaky, they're a little anxious, they're sweating, they still feel that feeling of fear and anxiety, but they are just confident enough to still go for it. So hopefully that makes sense. I know I kind of stuck with that example for a minute, but I hope I'm being clear with what I mean when I say that 7 out of a 10. So hopefully what I'm saying is making sense and resonating with someone out there. But anyway, now let's transition to, like, what can I do now? So let's say, like, you're coming to me, you're saying, hey, Coach Briley, I'm at a loss for what to do now. Like, I'm so scared. I just need, like, tell me what to do. Like, if I go back into the gym tomorrow, where can I improve? How can I start getting over this process, And the first thing I would probably just say is, start wherever you're able to. Whether that means you need 10 people to stand next to you and telling you everything's going to be okay and you can do this, or you just need to be left alone. Like, you have to start wherever you're able to start. You have to be, we all need that sense of security and safety, I think, in order to go for things we're scared of. It's a lot harder to do things you're really scared of when you don't feel like you're in the right environment, or you're not being supported, or you don't have the right equipment. When it comes to getting over a fear, you can't skip steps. And I think that's one of the other big messages I want to get across to you guys today. You can't skip steps. You can't force it. You have to start wherever you are able to, okay? So just start where you are. And I already said this before, but what comes with that is you have to control what you can control. So let's say maybe you don't have as supportive of a coach when it comes to getting over your fear. Maybe they're very angry at you, or they're, just disappointed. Maybe they're ignoring you, whatever. I know everyone's kind of in a different situation, but you have to control what you can control. So no matter how other people are treating you because of your fear, you just have to do what you can to be successful, right? You have to be on your own side. So I hope you're not the one, speaking poorly about yourself in your own head. Hopefully you have to be kind of your best friend in this situation, right? It's starting with where you can control, your thoughts and your actions and how you treat the situation, okay? So start from where you truly are. And with that also comes with, you have to be honest with yourself and figure out what you need to be confident and keep going. Again, not all coaches, like, they can't read your mind, right? And your teammates can't read your mind. You have to be willing to communicate what you need in order to be successful. And hopefully if you communicate that in a kind, respectful way, more than likely your coaches are going to be more than happy to help you, because that's their job. And even your teammates, if you need support from your teammates, like, if you need encouragement, you got to ask for it sometimes, and chances are you've seen your other teammates go through fear and anxiety and, having a tough time with skills, or, whatever else in their life. So, hey y'all, I'm briefly interrupting this episode to let y'all know about Anchor. Anchor is a free app that lets you create your own podcast for free. It comes with tools that allow you to edit and record your podcast from your phone or computer, which is also amazing, and it's so helpful for non-tech people like me. Anchor also distributes your podcast for free, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and more. You can monetize your podcast too with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to create a podcast all in one place. Go download the Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. I love you, Anchor. Thank you. If you need to back up and work backwards too, like maybe one day you're doing the skill just fine and the next day you're like, oh man, okay, I can't do it like I did it yesterday. Like I need to back up, I need to back off, I need to start over or something. You need to do that. And again, this is going to come with really good communication with your coaches and, asking them if you can do that. And, no matter how they react, remember that you have control over you and you just need to do what you can to succeed and do well and be safe. So I'm an advocate for if you need to stand up for yourself, there's a kind and respectful way to do that, okay? I don't want to send the message of you need to go against what your coach says. I mean, do what your coach says, but also be willing to communicate if you need something different. And if it will help you, then, sometimes it's going to take you having to prove to your coach what you need is going to help you, okay? And once they see that, usually they'll come around, okay? But, be tactful, be kind about it, be respectful, don't raise your voice. Just do what you need to do to feel confident and then move forward. And tell your coaches, hey, like, I know maybe you want me to do 10 of these today, or maybe I know you want me to go without the mat today, but if I could just start out with the mat and then see if I could take it off after that, then how about that? What do you think? It's going to take just asking questions and communicating kindly to, progress in the situation like that, okay? So back up if you need to do it. If you need to start over, warm up more, or, just do whatever you need to do to feel confident and then move forward, okay? So if it's going to be something that's going to help you move forward and not bring you backward forever, do it. If you need help, ask for it. And also, if you need space, ask for it. Just ask for what you need, figure out what you need to succeed, because I will tell you at the end of the day, no one else will do that for you. You have to be your own best advocate. And, again, no matter what your coaches or parents or teammates or anyone else is saying to you or treating you about it, hopefully when they see that you're actually going to do well and get better and progress through the fear, they'll understand and they'll come around, okay? But sometimes it has to come from you, I think, at the end of the day. So, anyway, the next thing I want to say, and I said this briefly before, but when it comes to fear and overcoming anxiety and stuff like this, you can't force it, and this may sound counterintuitive, but stop trying so hard. Like, it's a lot harder to overcome fear when you're super stressed and you let your fear consume you and it's all you think about. First, that's just not healthy, but it's also just it's a lot more difficult to overcome a fear when you're already feeling like that, right? So I think something to maybe start with and flipping your mindset with a little bit is accepting your fear, accepting that, okay, this is something that I'm scared of or I'm nervous about, gives me anxiety, but that's okay. I'm still a decent person. I'm still a decent athlete. I deserve to be successful. I will do well, and this is temporary. I think another thing we forget when it comes to fear is, time seems to pass a lot slower and we feel like we're going to be in this moment forever, but fear is temporary. You're not going to always have this fear, hopefully. And sometimes even if you do, like me, I gave the example of I kind of always had this fear of certain skills. The intensity of that fear is at least temporary. It's going to wear off. You're going to get through it. You're going to get over it. It's just a matter of you can't let the emotions that come with fear control you and take over your entire life, okay? Don't let it trickle into other aspects of your life like school or, other skills. Like, you can keep your fear contained and it's okay to have fear. It's just a matter of you gotta accept it and just be willing to take every day as it comes, okay? And it's gonna just be like a one thing at a time, one step at a time, and one day at a time. That's the next thing I kind of wanted to transition to talking about. So take things one step at a time. You can't, like I said, you can't force it. You can't rush through it. You have to just take one day at a time. If there's anything you can take away from our discussion today, hopefully that's just maybe one thing that you can change. And that's just about your mindset, really. Just taking things as they come. Follow each progression as prescribed by your coach or your own best decision-making capabilities. Follow the steps. Don't think too far ahead. Just do the reps, in the moment what you need to do and then move on to the next thing. And, just keep track of your confidence number through each progression. And maybe that's a good way to try and stay in the moment and stay present during your fear. Just, keep asking yourself, okay, how confident am I on this right now? How confident am I feeling? What can I do now? And then what can I do next? Okay, what's the next step in this progression, and can I do that? And then just, do reps as you feel more and more comfortable. And then I think before you know it, you'll start to kind of get ahead of your fear. Like, you'll know when it's time to like do more numbers or back off or move forward. Like, you know how to gauge where you are and what you need, I think, once you've, you just kind of figure it out with time and effort. It's going to take a lot of effort, but just not a lot of overthinking. So just monitor your thoughts and, follow your instincts when it comes to, working through each progression, okay? You know what you need. So just a couple final points here, and then I'll transition into another, like, taking it to the next level kind of topic. I just want to reiterate that no matter what you do or don't do, you are still a worthy and valuable person. So whether you get through this fear or not, maybe it's gonna mean like trying something else completely instead of this skill or whatever is giving you fear or troubles. Maybe you need to take a different path, whatever that means for you. If you have to do that or not do that, you are still a good person and you're a good athlete. You could never go for the skill ever again or overcome the fear. And like I said, you're still a good person. I just hope you guys understand and realize that. You having a fear doesn't make you a bad person or a bad athlete. It happens to everyone. I'm pretty sure it happens to everyone. I don't think I could think of one athlete that has not had an instance of, oh my gosh, I'm so scared, I'm petrified, what do I do? Everybody experiences that at some point in their life or their career. No matter what they do, that's just a part of life. So I know it can be a really isolating and lonely feeling when it feels like you're the only person going through, being scared of something, but that's just not true, okay? Again, your fear doesn't make you a bad person or a bad athlete. You are worthy of success no matter what you decide to do, or don't do, Yeah, I think the final message I'd want to send along with that, at the end of the day, you guys sometimes you just gotta take the risk and go for it. Even if you're scared of the unknown, even if you're scared of hurting yourself, chances are, if you fall down or fail completely, it still won't even be as bad as you think it would be, Most fears, like I said, they stem from either being scared of the unknown or being injured or just scared of like failure and pain. And I think if you're an experienced athlete by any means, you've experienced pain, you've experienced injury, and you've gotten through that, right? So, okay, let's say if you're scared to go for a skill and you do hurt yourself, or you do it wrong, or you fall down, there's ways to get through that part too. What you do is you get back up and do it again, or you get the help you need to heal the injury, right? There's nothing that you could do that would completely derail you from your goals at that point, even if it's injury or, failure, so to speak, that whatever failure means to you. You could look at that in different ways. That could be a whole other podcast. But anyway, let's say even if you do fall, if you fail, whatever you interpret that as, or you hurt yourself, or it scares you even more, you'll get through it. Nothing that, like, being scared and falling and messing up, that is not something enough to derail you from your goals or from success. Sometimes those moments are even the biggest blessings in disguise, because that's where you learn how to grow, how to heal, how to improve and be better. Okay, so speaking of that, let's go ahead and transition. Like, let's say you want to take yourself to the next level. And let's say you're getting through your fear, you're progressing, you're doing better, you're moving through it, you're gaining your confidence back, but you want more. So like, you're eager for more. I think the best time to, the best time to excel and really, search for even more excellence and success is starting with your strengths and building from there. So, especially when you're feeling really good about where you are and you're feeling really confident, that's not the time to start, I think, and this is my opinion, maybe working on your weaknesses, that can come later, but start with your strengths and build from there. Ask yourself what your strengths are and then write those down. Like, take inventory with what you're good at and what you're great at. Ask yourself questions and write down your answers. And so for example, how to do that is, asking yourself, what are you good at mentally and physically? I'm sure you'll have different answers for those things. Another good question to ask yourself is, what makes you unique? What do you like about yourself? What do you value most in life? And maybe what makes you a good friend or son or daughter, student, employee? Start with those kinds of questions about, your strengths and what you're good at and what makes you special. That will kind of speed up the process of, once you know those things, you'll get even better when it comes to building that confidence and remembering your strengths and what you're good at. And then once you've done those things, then you can attack those maybe weaker points and those weaknesses that you have. Like if you're just completely at a loss, I think that's a great place to start too. So yeah, like I said, when you feel confident, address your weaknesses, like once you get to that point. And that's where you ask yourself, where can you improve? Where can you challenge and push yourself to be even better? Where can you maybe like push yourself a little harder? How can you get out of that comfort zone? But hopefully the goal is to get to that, again, that 7 out of 10, that kind of more comfortable spot on the confidence scale, and then address those things, address your strengths, get yourself to a confident spot, and then look at your weaknesses and where you can improve, where you can push yourself a little harder, okay? Hopefully that makes sense and that resonates with some of you guys out there. And I encourage the coaches listening, if there are any coaches listening, pay attention to those kinds of things with your athlete and maybe help them in that process. Maybe help them ask themselves those questions of like, okay, well, what am I already good at? Where can we build from there? What can we work on first to build our confidence, and then address the fear, the anxiety, the weaknesses, the stuff that maybe isn't going so well. So I hope that, helps not just the athletes, but the coaches and parents listening too. And let me know if, you guys have any more feedback for me, questions or comments about anything that I talked about today. But anyway, with everything being said, I want to just go ahead, I guess, and close out by saying thank you so much for listening. Please check out my social media platforms. You can find me on patreon.com/Briley Casanova for exclusive updates and the chance to give me feedback for future episodes. You can also give me feedback and find me on Instagram and Twitter. My Instagram handle is Mental Coach Briley, and my Twitter handle is Mental Coach Bry. I also have a public Facebook group at fb.me/Mental Coach Briley. And if you want a little bit more of a private way to communicate with me, you can always email me and ask me about a free consultation as well, if that interests you. And that email address is briley@completeperformancecoaching.com. And finally, I don't want to make you guys feel obligated, but the option to donate is available if you want to contribute to this podcast and my business. I would really greatly appreciate it. And you can do that through Venmo. My username is Briley Casanova, and my PayPal username is Briley Casanova as well. And again, that's just if you feel inclined to donate, but please don't feel obligated. Again, feel free to reach out with questions and any feedback you have. Your input is valuable and important to me, so please help contribute to my growth and knowledge. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in my next episode. Also, final note, if you're a business owner looking for promotional or marketing opportunities for your business, please email me and type sponsorship inquiry in the subject line so you can sponsor future pep talks. Thank y'all so much. Bye-bye.